there's levels of consumers caring about a brand, and there comes a point when you become the brand of choice, and I stop looking. You're my brand, and anything below that, these brands who have loyalty programs, who are capturing consumer data and purchases today, they will struggle.
Pauline and Koji, welcome to the Loyalty Leaders podcast. Pauline, let's start with you. You're known as a loyalty matchmaker. Tell us some more about why that is, and kind of what special do you bring to loyalty?
Well, the Loyalty Matchmaker. It took a while before I had a good company name. And I thought it had to be the Loyalty Matchmaker because I kind of feel that I'm in the middle of the brands and then developing their loyalty programs. And then there's also tech that comes to mind. And then there's me kind of putting all the dots together, which feels like I'm kind of a matchmaker. So that's basically the Loyalty Matchmaker. So I help companies, brands to design their loyalty programs, crafting their loyalty strategies, and also helping them with some tech selections. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow, I really like that approach, it feels natural, right? Because certainly loyalty depends on not only syncing with the right audience, but also sometimes in the partnership ecosystem and the value proposition.
Yeah.
All those things, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's also like the human kind of area into it, like connecting with peers, connecting with consumers, it's like connecting people to people. That's also very important, I would say.
Awesome. So Koji, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And Koji, you're kind of an OG in the retail loyalty space, PVH, for many years. Yeah. You've recently made a transition to your own consultancy. Tell us a bit about that and kind of what's exciting you in making this transition.
Sure. So I've spent the last 12 years in the consumer brands space, so DTC heavy, so 5 years at Nike and then also 7 years at Tommy Hilfiger. And in the last decade, I've spent quite a lot of time in the loyalty, CRM, marketing space. Had the privilege to do loyalty program redesigns, not once, not twice, but also 3 times in my time, which was a great learning experience for me. And I do enjoy being in the intersection of strategy and analytics and also tech, and where the creatives all come together. And I find that really interesting about loyalty. So I've decided to take all the learnings and then start working with not just one client or company, but with many consumer brands to help by harnessing the power of data and the customer base into a revenue engine. So that's what I've set out to do. And still early days, but I'm having a lot of fun.
This is really fascinating. I'm not sure if you heard some of my comments yesterday from the retail side, where and Pauline, chime in here as well. But I've really seen a lot of retail programs amass quite a large portion of their loyalty database with inactive profiles, and it's costing them, right? Because me formerly as a vendor for loyalty systems, that's part of the P&L, right? So you're every few years you have to re-up. And then if you just simply delete, you're losing that associated data. I'm sure that's stressed both of you out at one time or another. But really for me, the root cause of that, and I'd love for you to kind of give me your feedback, is really coming from the acquisition process, where we see like interstitials, and that will commingle with, say, an acquisition for an email list. And it's a similar kind of value where it's giving you a unearned discount up front for a program which should be earned. You see where I'm going there, where there's a disconnect, and then we wonder why 70% of the file, they just took the discount and they never came back. How do we solve for that? Pauline, you want to start?
I think that's a known problem, I would say. And later on, I'm also going to discuss it with my Gen Z panel, because they're kind of known to jump in for like the welcome discount and then never engage afterwards. So, how do we solve it? I think it's worth asking. Well, firstly, I think it's worth not having everybody in your loyalty program. Firstly, so maybe like the programs should be or paid or behind kind of closed doors, only available for valuable segments that is worth investing in terms of ROI. And secondly, I think, maybe we should ask our customers what they think about the loyalty program afterwards, right? So if you just signed up for your birthday gift or a welcome offer, right, as Gen Z often does, then maybe we should ask them in about 2 weeks, would you ever engage after, or would you, just send out recent communication about if people really want to be in your program, and if not, why, and if yes, please, then you could evolve those profiles, right? So I think it's both sides. So asking the customer the why they would join or wouldn't join or wouldn't be engaged afterwards, but it could also be not letting everybody into your program.
So one is an organizational problem, and it often is the case, and I have first-hand experience where you or your team want to advocate for loyalty and CRM and all of that. And you have this internal pressure that either you put on yourself or others put on you, that you need to have quite impact quite fast. And in those cases, one of the first areas that you can influence and you can show quick wins is how many number of people you sign up. Because that's the quickest action that people take. So I think that organizational and also priority issue, how do you win internal stakeholders, I think that definitely plays a part. And it's just so alluring, like just to put the discount out there and then we got the new members and then here you go, 10 million members.
We're going to have a little bit of fun today where we have a segment called AI All Up in Your Business. So while we were sitting there, I went into Gemini search, Google search, which is very popular, and over half of the public now depends on the AI synthesized search in the top. They're not scrolling down, and they're kind of taking that as gospel. But as professionals in the industry, we've seen certain things that might be a little bit off, right? Where attribution might be a little wonky, like certain people being credited for certain things. But for you today, I'd like you to react to what Google Gemini is saying about you, Koji. We're asking it 2 questions, and we're going to get to you as well, Pauline.
Exciting.
The first question is very simple. Is Koji Hayashi from your new studio that was a prompt a loyalty expert? Very simple, right? And according to the AI, the answer is yes. It says Koji is a loyalty expert, and in some cases it's a no. It's been very respectful, and it is. It just doesn't say no outright, but it will not say yes, and it will just kind of say what it thinks the strength is. So it says, you're a professional consultant specializing in customer retention and brand growth. Founder of the new studio, credentials, you're a certified loyalty expert, you've enterprise experience, spent over 12 years managing high-level digital marketing, career achievements, you spearheaded the launch of Nike's first membership app. You managed to triple retail member sales in a 3-year tenure at Tommy Hilfiger. Is that accurate? And routinely shares insights on LinkedIn and CRM and various things. So that's fairly factual. But then we now challenge the AI to think a little bit more and synthesize some insights. So the prompt is, what is your unique POV on loyalty? So let's see how it translates that. And I want to get your reaction. So it says, your unique POV revolves around moving away from traditional earn and burn towards building a customer identity and genuine brand devotion. So it's kind of positioning you as a brand guy a little bit. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, I'm glad that my website or LinkedIn is Gemini optimized.
It is. It's crawled it.
I'm glad to hear that. The second one is I do agree with the assessment and also my positioning, in the sense that I feel like a lot of brands, when they think about or talk about or look into building a loyalty program, I do feel like they start at the wrong place or start by asking the wrong questions first, whereas what they should start with is, what does our brand mean for our customers, and why do they come back? Not thinking about the loyalty scheme or program, whether you have that or not, is irrelevant at this stage, but really to understand, if you do have a brand, if you do have a company, why do people come back? And what do they think of you? Or what do they feel about you? And I think that's the most important starting point, because if you do decide to develop a loyalty scheme or program, and if you don't design it around that, two things happen. So one is either organizationally, internally, because you're not staying true to your core, it becomes seen as loyalty is doing something, and it's not part of us. It's not part of the most important thing that we do. So therefore, it becomes really hard to battle internally on loyalty. Hey, this is important. This is what we should do, because it's not part of the core. And also for consumers, because it's not serving the core reason why people are coming back, it will seem as something that's mechanic or bolted on or gimmicky. And I do think those internal and external factors really play out the further down you go into the planning phase. So then that's why I say it's really important to start asking the right questions first. And I think Gemini is picking up on that.
Yeah, it really gets in there, say, moving away from points and perks, beyond transactions, no isolated schemes, are earning true relevance. Goes on, it says loyalty as an identity and experience. So building devotion seems to be something that AI is really picking up on. He strongly believes that a loyalty program should only be established if it genuinely contributes to making the overall brand experience remarkable, in quotes.
Yeah.
Well, I think yours was pretty on point, right? So I'm very excited to hear mine.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. So Pauline, the answer for the high level prompt, which was is Pauline van Dongen from Loyalty Matchmaker, a loyalty expert, and the answer was yes.
Phew.
Like shit. And it says you're a recognized loyalty expert. And then it gets into your title at the Matchmaker. It says your experience over 15 years in both agency and brand side CRM, which is always a really powerful thing. I mean, I like to brag about that when I'm at the table. I was like, hey, I started off as a program manager. I mean, it's like we're working on both sides here, right? Brand portfolio, and it names also Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein, Alliance, and the Lumen Group. Community role where you serve as hub master for the Benelux region in the ELA, European Loyalty Association. Like very venerable stuff. then it gets into like, what is a loyalty matchmaker? It's intrigued by that, right? It says the launch of your professional initiative. Matchmaker provides businesses with vendor-neutral guidance, and you focus on translating high-level corporate loyalty ambitions into actionable designs, assisting brands in selecting the right loyalty software, and connecting businesses with specialized implementation partners. But then as we go down to the more kind of subjective thing, your unique POV and loyalty, it gets into some really interesting things where it's picking up on these, kind of your personal brand or your professional brand, right? And it's interesting how the AI kind of synthesizes that, and we're able to kind of see how we're reflected through this. So obviously it says, yes, you're a certified loyalty marketing expert, but the first headline is really shifting from acquisition to pure retention. So you're an advocate that brands must stop obsessing over acquisition. That's why I asked you that.
Exactly.
And start treating retention as a cultural investment. In your view, a successful loyalty program must think beyond the transactions and nurture relationships.
Yeah. Wow, I'm pretty proud of the AI. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it doesn't stop there, because it gets into some things that I don't hear a lot of loyalty consultants talking about. And one is really interesting. I want you to kind of expand on this one, is the myth of gender-based loyalty.
Ooh, really?
Yeah. It says you hold a highly modern and specific view on how the demographic factors like gender should and should not influence program design.
Yeah.
So don't make it pink.
Well, yeah. Well, that's a nice one, actually. Yeah, I think that comes from one of my latest LinkedIn posts directly. Right. So that feedback, well, I know where that input comes from, but it's correct, because and that was the part that I was missing in the summary of the AI, just when you read it. But it was, I often design, I'm believing in the retention, like acquisition versus retention. I'm really believing in the retention. But then there's something more than that, and that is the consumer itself. So if I design a loyalty strategy or program, of course it needs to be aligned with the brands that we talked earlier on, like the brand values and stuff like that. But it needs to be aligned with the customers. So whether you have a lot of females or males in your database or Gen Zers, it doesn't really matter as long as you design from the customer point of view. Yeah. So if you know what your customer values, how they want to be rewarded, how they want to be recognized for their loyalty, you cannot do it wrong, right? And then if you do a pretty good customer research before you get to start designing anything, whether it's a strategy, a program, or some software that you need somewhere, it should be from the customer's point of view, right? So I often start with the research, and it doesn't really matter who's in there. It only matters if you have that, to make sure that you have all your segments in the research, they should be I'm not finding the right English word, but represented in your customer research, so that you will developing your program around your consumers, whether that's females, males.
It also goes on to talk about your vendor neutral software selection, and that zero vendor bias, where and this goes to the name of your enterprise. Where you act strictly as a matchmaker to find the right software fit for brand specific scale and goals. So the AI certainly saw that as being a unicorn trait. You don't see that a lot. It called it out. But I want to pose to both of you, and feel free to kind of jump in. Let's dig into your point of view on this agentic commerce trend. So we've seen Google in the last year or so create some protocols, just like they created the original white paper for AI itself. They've certainly created the framework that can potentially power a machine that is tasked with shopping and a machine that's tasked with representing what both of you used to do, representing the brand. So, what I'd like to get from you guys with your experience, both on the brand and agency side, is let's not worry about adoption right now because we don't really have a crystal ball, but how do you think loyalty will fit in there where not all of loyalty is going to be completely programmatic, right? It's not all zeros and ones, but there's this kind of the immeasurable irrationality. How does that get factored in? Yes, maybe humans in a loop or not, but just from a pure programmatic perspective, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Shall I start?
Yes, please.
So my point of view around agentic commerce is, I think it's a mistake if a brand starts really focusing on how do we optimize for agentic commerce because it's coming. I do feel like that's a mistake, and it's the wrong question to ask themselves in this moment in time. I think the better question to ask themselves is, how do we focus on us and as a brand developing such a strong loyalty towards the from the customer, so that when the time comes when consumers start using agentic commerce to order anything, they would just naturally drop your brand name in the prompt. So, hey, if you're brand agnostic and loyalty absent in ordering a flight ticket, if you don't have that loyalty, the consumers just say, hey, find me the cheapest ticket towards New York, JFK. But if you develop enough loyalty with the brand, the human should say, and we have to expect or hope that they say, hey, book me a flight, KLM flight to JFK on this date. Right. To specify it, because I'm a Flying Blue member. And I think that's it's a nuance, but it's quite a significant difference in where are you focusing on? Yeah. Are you agentic commerce optimizing, or are you really focusing on being the brand of choice?
So it's almost like it's implied that you already have this affinity with a certain brand. And then the agentic commerce as a convenience tool is simply getting rid of that boredom of having to then search through that distribution or all those options. But you're already kind of going in that direction.
I think you have to break through this threshold of, there's levels of consumers caring about a brand. And there comes a point when you become the brand of choice, and I stop looking. You're my brand, and anything below that, these brands who have loyalty programs, who are capturing consumer data and purchases today, they will struggle. So they are the ones that have to lift up and break through this threshold. That's the focus, rather than optimizing for agentic commerce. That's the wrong focus. That's how I think. Yeah.
I wonder how this could apply in retail. So the world that you came from, because you just gave a travel example, but certainly in retail, there's just a plethora of programs. And one of the things as an airline loyalty professional that worked with retailers, I noticed that a lot of them aspire to a kind of airline-esque program. It was like, we need tiers, we need this, and it's like, well, why do you need these things, kind of thing. But the thing that really jumped out at me is with some retailers, especially the higher quality retailers, the frequency is challenged, right? Even if you have, say, kind of anchor items like a high quality jacket, perhaps, or something that you might own for a lifetime, right? But then you also sell accessories and that sort of thing. But you don't necessarily see folks purchasing those in between. So you end up having kind of this life cycle that goes over 6-7 years, right? And then this person kind of becomes dormant, and then they might come back. I wonder, and I want to get your view on this. How could Agentic help with that, where it could almost be this proactive thing where, well, if you have these items, and then almost like the early Amazon recommendation. If you're interested in this, there's this. And if you give it certain parameters, it's out there just kind of doing that. In a way, that could almost like, put your thumb on the scale as a brand.
Your personal shopping assistant sort of thing, yeah.
Because, Alexa is constantly telling me stuff every day saying, hey, this thing that you buy all the time, the price just went down by $1.50. Do you want to put it in your cart?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm not really ready to buy that, but I'll just stock up on it. Sure, go ahead and put it in the cart. Right? So it's already kind of happening. And then now that stuff may just be happening automatically based on certain parameters, right? Was that a challenge that you had at the various clothing brands that you represented, getting that level of frequency that is still reasonable, right? You're not completely...
Yeah, I think for the brands that I've worked with, purchase frequency would be like lower single digits, but it's not 0 point, it's more than 1. So on average, people come once, twice, maybe if you're lucky, 3, 4, 5 times a year. So it's not like a 6-year gap. So in that sense, we didn't strictly have that issue. But I think one of the issues we had was internally, it was really hard to see the immediate effects of whatever initiatives we were doing, because if you have a very high frequency, sector, like a supermarket chain and things, I do feel like the frequency meaningfully increases in a shorter period of time. But at Tommy and Nike, when we were doing things, it will be, okay, we have to understand the results like 6 months from now or 9 months from now, because that is the average, gap. So that's always been a challenge for us. And it becomes particularly sticky with C-level executives, because they normally don't have that level of patience.
Yeah.
So then it comes back to my earlier point around loyalty teams looking for more short-term, immediate wins, like an acquisition. And it can become like a negative sort of loop.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like that. Yeah. Very thoughtful. So Pauline, what's your take on agentic commerce? How do we play that game?
Yeah, I totally agree with Koji about, being kind of in the heart of your consumer before brands will optimize for agentic AI. But what I also see is that I think loyalty can truly make a difference if the consumers start to buy, well, whether it's a car or a fashion item or anything through agentic AI, it definitely helps when you have them in your loyalty program, because I think some consumers are not like price driven. Some consumers are not driven by the delivery time of things. Some consumers are totally driven by a sort of like durable brands, by other drivers that could, like other drivers that are in your loyalty program, like representative. So sustainability, durability, maybe diversity. I think if that's kind of the core of your loyalty program, and that's the core of your brand, I think when the durability is driving the people to find products, you definitely have your loyalty program there as a differentiator in the market, and people rather buy with your brand than with other brands. So I think, well, I'm not sure if it's kind of the same, but it is actually. But I think there are more customer drivers than just sales and delivery time and things like that. I think it's more into durability, sustainability, diversity, kind of the angle that also drives the younger generations.
Wow. I absolutely love it. Well, congratulations. You're both loyalty experts, according to the AI. I think I might have already figured that out on my own. You're certainly, your wisdom is well beyond your many years of experience. So thank you for joining the Loyalty Leaders podcast. Enjoy the rest of your Loyalty Summit CXM.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Appreciate it.